Good morning. It's Saturday, November 20th, 2021. Let's talk about this partial lunar eclipse in Taurus that has gone ahead and come through over the last 24 hours. Because she is intense. She's intense in a way that I don't know. We knew that this was going to be eclipses start making things speed up. Things are a little chaotic. Like we had this Kyle Rittenhouse trial coming through yesterday with that shitty ass verdict. There's just been things happening in our own personal lives that have just been shaking up how we're moving, or just us needing to really settle in and figure out how to settle into our emotions. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I've been on the brink of tears a lot over the last 24 hours. Sometimes you just sit, and it's sometimes as your body is just sitting there and your mind is racing, it's wow, I'm tired, or wow, I wish I had some support, or wow, I wish I could get things clearer vision, or a more clearer vision, so that way I know which direction I'm supposed to be headed, or what I'm supposed to even be doing in the next 15 minutes. It feels like there has been a lot of mental chatter, and then everybody else is giving their own energy as well. So I know that that can be very overwhelming. Even with me, before I was getting ready to record this, was setting up my space, putting my cards out, got my music going. By the way, this is an anxiety aid solfeggio frequency, or an alpha/low theta brainwave. This is to help build any built up tensions melt away as our anxiety levels decrease. So as you're listening to this, because I'm just, something says just share. That's where I always get my, that's my in, and just what also feels appropriate. So this will just help us in this reading slash this moment as we are figuring out what's going on energetically and how we can stay on top of stuff. I want you to just think about how you feel now. Think about how you feel after, even as I bear my soul a little bit to you guys. So anyway, before I hopped into recording this, I reached out to my grandma. Something was in my spirit. Something felt like it was off, and I called her randomly yesterday during the day, and I've been thinking about going to visit her, because I haven't gotten an opportunity to see her yet this year. Because normally when I go home, it's going to her is a longer trip. I don't have to explain that. Anyway, I haven't gotten to see her this year, and it's something where I do see her every other year, but it felt important to try to see if I could get down there. So I reached out to her about trying to take a little trip, see if her December was open, or she'd be around, to see if it was something I could fit into my schedule, because my schedule's kind of crazy right now. And she called me this morning. I'm she never calls me. Get a Bible verse from my grandmother every single day. She'll send a little message in the morning, rarely ever calls. If I get her on the phone, it's for no more than 2 minutes. She calls me this morning to basically tell me that if I'm going to come and visit her, I don't need to come home with nails, jewelry, nothing that makes me seem, I guess, any sort of gay or spiritual or whatever, because she claimed me for the Lord, which I wish she understood how much I feel, and not even just feel, but know that what I do and how I, share my connection and share my messages, with and through the Holy Spirit, that I am connecting with God and, my understanding of God. But it was basically just this 5 to 10 minute conversation around how much she loves me, but how she, doesn't want me to be somebody that, the Lord did not create me to be, and how she prays for me every night, and, kind of just putting a lot of pressure on me around her sickness and how she feels like she's battling on my behalf. So of course, as I'm starting with that, or as I'm listening to her, I love her so much, and all I want is a strong connection with my family. That's something I've always prayed for. And yesterday, I'm in therapy again, and the therapist was explaining to me that I am still experiencing PTSD around just my own identity and being who I am, because I have run into a variety of different situations in my upbringing that have hindered me from feeling comfortable in just being me. I feel like I know I was not very much accepted. I had to quiet parts of myself, and even in her request for me to come home as a blank slate, as a plain man, and I'm just what does that even mean? So it's having to step into, and I feel a lot of my anxiety and a lot of my trauma comes from, verbal and sexual assault in my upbringing, but then also just this it's like a lack of care when it comes to who I am. And I feel like that's what I'm truly learning to step into in this eclipse season, and the things that I've been having discussion with myself is really just being tapped into my senses, being tapped into like my true essence. And I was journaling this week, and I was basically writing how I feel like in my life there aren't very many people, I can probably count on one hand, that really, really, really like know me, and I allow myself to feel completely comfortable as my goofy ass around them. Like I'm like, you like to dance, you like to move, and I feel like the people that are truly tapped into just like seeing me are just like, you're a dancer, you're creative, like, you know, you're a writer, like XYZ, and they feel all of this like free energy and free spirit from me, and it feels like it doesn't resonate sometimes in my physical body. So what I've been doing is working through that, and allowing myself to talk about it, such as this, because I feel like that is part of the shadow work. Knowing that, you know, we all struggle with being accepted by people that we want to be accepted by. Sometimes we struggle with, you know, being in spaces where we want to have these attachments to friend groups, certain relationships, certain environments that we want to feel accepted in and we want to feel loved in. But that's just not going to happen in the way that we want it. So do we allow ourselves to release that control, release that anxiousness, release that wanting of being accepted as we are, knowing that that may not happen? And I want you to sit and think about how you are allowing yourself right now to know that you came as you are, and you are perfect as you are in this very moment in time, and you don't have to answer anything for anyone, especially if they're not going to be willing to receive you in the way that you're working on receiving yourself. So your primary message, and how I feel like this lunar eclipse is showing up for us, is really just like learning how to accept all parts of us. Learning how to fully just be. What does that mean when you encapsulate every single essence of who you are and who you've been meant to shine as, even when it feels tough? Even when it feels like others are not making sense of it, even when it feels like you're being misunderstood, can you still rise to the occasion and show up knowing that whatever tables you are invited to, whatever spaces you are invited to, you are deserving of being there. And you don't have to quiet anything about yourself in order to shine, you know? It's important for you to just truly stick with what you know to be right for you. And when it doesn't feel right, make your exit plan. So I wanted to start with that. It's kind of like a message to be like, listen, first off, y'all know that I'm always going to come with some real shit, first and foremost. And we're all working through things. And I feel like if we were more transparent and more honest about the things that we are ushering into our lives, and I feel like that's the place where we find like our family, we find like the people that are on the same path as us, the people that are on the same walk as us, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable enough to talk about it, and sometimes have the answers, sometimes not. That's okay. Sometimes just getting it out of your spirit, sometimes just, you know, making a stamp and recognizing like, I'm not going backwards because I've already stepped into this new life and I know that this is the life for me. If you allow yourself to stick in that mentality and live in your truth, no matter what, nobody can say anything to you. Nobody can make you feel guilty for you just trying to be the best version of you and the most authentic version of you. I feel like that's what we were put on this earth here for. And once we learn to unlock that and share that with our community and share that with our people around us and share that with the folks that are important to us, whether you know them or whether you don't know them, that's when we start to find that sweet spot, you know, that good place, that safe place that I feel like we're all looking for. So I want you to just, if you're seeing this, like, keep that in mind. You are being accepted. I accept you. I appreciate you. I care about you. And now something is like, shift this into 2 separate videos. So this is just like a little like where I feel like the full moon is kind of like showing up for us. This lunar eclipse is showing up for us to start a new cycle around how we value ourselves and how we always remind ourselves that grounding comes and goes, but we can tap back into it through the things that get us back on track. What I decided to do after being triggered in that moment was I reached out to a friend of mine who even made me think about going to my grandmother's house a brother of mine, and I was like, listen, this is just what happened this morning. If you have some space and time to listen to this in your, in your spare time, please feel free. And then I called my brother, because I was like, my brother's the only person that's experienced my lived experience in some sort of similar way as far as the upbringing is concerned, that could get it. And now that I've also talked about it out loud and shared it with myself or with whoever watches this, because now I know where this is going. This is just a little message for you to just, let you know that there's no need for you to quiet yourself anymore. We can always work with tact. We can always work with, being mindful of how other people are receiving us. But at the end of the day, if it doesn't feel good, if it feels like it's taking away from you and setting you backward, is that something that you should really put your time and your energy into? And I say all that to say that I'm still considering what I'm going to do as far as my trip is concerned, because I still don't know if I have the time to do it. But it does let me know the mentality that I have to show up in. And also knowing that time is fleeting. I don't know how much longer my grandmother will be here on this physical plane. And I still want to be able to engage with her in that physical sense without that sense of tension. You know what I mean? So how can I ease the tension? And if it starts loosening some things up in me that make me feel uncomfortable, I know that I'm strong enough to be able to weather that storm. But yeah, who knows what's going to happen? Who knows where this is going to take us? Who knows what this, lunar eclipse is really going to shake up? And if this is the first day, I can only imagine what's to come. But yes, that's a little message for people out there. Stay true. Stay honest. I think that's what we're made to do. That's what we're here to. That's what I'm here to do, and that's all I'm gonna fucking do. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Thank me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm talking to me. For just continuing to set the bar high, because you could totally spiral back into being fearful of, expressing yourself, finding your path, finding your purpose, and really living in that. But you're not going to let those things puncture your armor in the way that they used to. And this is a prime example of you exceeding that and getting yourself to a place where no matter what, there's still work to be done and you're still fucking great as you are. Peace.